This is Community Issues, a local public affairs program focusing on the problems, needs, and interests of our community. And now your host for Community Issues, Carol Winkler.
On today's program, our guest is Michele Steeb. She is the CEO of St. John's Program for Real Change. And Michele, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for including us. We're delighted to be back.
It's my pleasure. In the past, it was St. John's Shelter, and I always was very impressed with your program. The last time I did an interview, I didn't realize it was all the way back at 2011, talked to Rochelle Burton, and was very impressed with the fact that, you were serving 110 women and children every day. There were 100 women waiting to get into your shelter. And the program you had a 90-day program when I had talked to her. And it was the different classes, that was whether it was nutrition or workshops, job skill classes, parenting, fitness, nutrition. Wonderful, wonderful program. And then I went online to pull you up. I said, it's been a long time. I need to check and see what's going on there. And all of a sudden, I see where it says, Breaking the Cycle, designed to change lives once and for all. The tools for real change. And then your name, St. John's Program for Real Change. I said, something is different. I want to know what, because you were an incredible program before. Are you still doing the same things but differently? Why and how the change? How has it impacted your program?
I think a little bit more history to help answer that, but we were started on the steps of a church 30 years ago, and really we're a typical emergency shelter. We brought women and children in at 5 o'clock at night, fed them, gave them a bed to sleep in, and then at 8 o'clock in the morning they were forced to leave because we weren't open during the day. And we operated, even though about 3 years later we became incorporated, we operated much like that until an event that happened in 2007. I came in 2006, at the end of 2006, and within weeks had a woman named Shelley and her 2 boys come in, and then not even a week later, a woman named Katie and her daughter came in, and I was incredibly surprised to learn that Shelley and Katie were sisters, but even more surprised to learn that Shelley and Katie had lived at St. John's when we were a typical emergency shelter, 18 years earlier. And what it really said to me is, oh my gosh, we can't just give people, these families, these single mother-led families, a roof and a meal and expect that we're helping them to change the trajectory of their lives. So we started on a journey, and it is a journey. We're not done, and we won't be done, maybe never. But we started on the journey of putting in place a program, and we expanded, as you mentioned earlier, almost immediately. I think into 2008 we expanded into a 90-day program, and we added services such as mental health counseling and drug and alcohol counseling and job training and GED attainment, life skills classes, health education classes. We added a lot of tools. But what we really realized is even in adding all those things, we still, in 90 days, weren't able to really, most of our families, 78% come with addiction issues. Mm-hmm. 70% come with mental health issues, 70% with domestic violence, 65% with criminal histories, 45% don't have a high school diploma or GED. So they're dealing with multiple issues. And 90 days, even though it was much more than we offered in the initial stages of St. John's, it still wasn't enough to give our families the tools and the foundation they needed to become self-sustaining.
The 90-day program, was that a live-in program?
Yes. So now our program is somewhere between 12 and 18 months, depending on, the amount of time a woman and her children need. Women who have had their children removed from CPS, Child Protective Services, there's a reunification process that usually takes anywhere from, a month or 2 to 8 months. And so those women, might take a little longer in the program. versus those who don't have to go through reunification. But it's a 12 to 18 month program, and it's all live-in. The live-in is crucial not only because we are trying to really get to know them and see their behaviors, experience their behaviors versus them telling us in a counseling session. It's really important because we need them to build new support networks. If they don't build new support networks when they hit tough times, when they're on their own and they hit tough times, which they undoubtedly will, they're going to go back to their old network, which could likely pull them back into very challenging behaviors that don't support a mother continuing to be self-sustaining and taking care of herself and her children. So that live-in piece is just a very crucial piece, not only because they're homeless, but because of these other two components.
How many women can you have there on the program at a time?
Well, in the old days, when you talked to us back in 2011, it was up to 100 or so. Today, it's up to 180. And today, unfortunately, even though we've expanded by almost 80 people, still on our wait list every night are 300 women and children every single night.
That is shocking.
It is shocking. I mean, most people think, the economy is fully recovered, and we just are not seeing that, at least at our bird's eye view. But we're in the process of buying the building next to us and expanding our capacity by about another 90 women and children. So, we won't be able to make a complete dent in that wait list, but we'll make a pretty good dent.
If you're just joining us today, we're talking with Michele Steeb. She is the CEO of St. John's Program for Real Change. So talk about the program. When the women come in, say they have children, say they're not school-age children, during the daytime, what do the kids do? Is that when you have classes for the parents? Is there someone to watch the children? How does that work?
Yes, so, I often tell our moms, this is your chance. This is like going to a spa. I mean, in some ways it really is, because they have, this entire time to really work on themselves. And especially the first 3 or 4 months, we are doing all the child, if they're of school age, they're enrolled in school, then of course they go to school during the day, that we help them, with homework and tutoring, and there's lots of activities. If they're not in school, we offer on-site early childhood education. Most of our children have never had access to that. And for those that are toddlers and infants, we do child care. But the whole idea is that we're working on the whole family. We're not just working on one component of the family. We're helping kids get back to being kids again, because a lot of our children have been put in situations where they've been having to take care of a parent. And so we're about changing those dynamics back to, quote unquote, more normal dynamics, but also really helping the mom understand what her responsibilities are and to be able to fulfill those responsibilities, including, getting a job and keeping a job and getting her high school diploma and managing her mental health and her addiction issues.
What kind of success rate do you have? Can you see it?
Oh, absolutely. So we actually measure success in kind of a 5-level capacity. Level 1 being kind of the first 30 days, making it through, and that's actually the period during which we lose the most women, because St. John's is very, very, it is not difficult for you and me, but it is very difficult for the moms who come through our doors who are very used to living an unstructured, kind of chaotic life. And St. John's is very structured, it's very regimented, it requires a lot from you, including being able to look in the mirror and say, I need to make some real significant change, which is why we changed our name to St. John's Program for Real Change. So if you can't handle that kind of honesty and reality and the work it's going to take to make that kind of change, then St. John's isn't for you. And in that first 30 days, we ask about half of those who leave, so about, somewhere around 30% exit in the first 30 days. And about half of those we've asked to leave, and the other half, self-exit. Every level beyond, so the level 2 is really kind of early employment training. We operate 2 restaurants and a daycare center where moms work. And
you still have Plates, your cafe?
Yeah, Plates, and we have a second cafe called Plates Midtown. And then we have a program called First Steps. It's a child development center. All 3 of those programs are hands-on, what they call experiential job skills. A lot of programs focused on this population are really classroom-based. And what we found through our 31 years of experience is our moms need a lot more than classroom instruction. They really respond much better to the hands-on, kind of real life, real live instruction. So the second phase is, really kind of this kind of self-actualization and early employment training phase. And about 25% exit at that stage, so 75% make it through. And then our third stage is advanced employment training and positive network development, and about 75% make it through that stage. And level 4, stage 4, is actually getting a job and moving into, for the most part, subsidized housing. We'll continue to subsidize their individual apartment units. Again, about 75% make it through that stage, and then the final stage is self-sustainability, and about 70% get to that goal. So not everyone who comes into St. John's comes in for the whole thing. We had a woman named Sunny who came in. She was suicidal. She had severe addiction issues, mental health issues, obviously, and had a job but wasn't able to make it, and just had no hope. And she came in for 4 months of just intensive mental health, drug and alcohol counseling and stabilization services, which we were able to provide her. And then she was able to go back to her job. Not everyone is coming in for the whole package, but I would say the most of our clients are in need of a lot more than what Sunny was in need of.
Everybody that comes there gets something out of it, whether they leave or not. Maybe they'll come back again and again, but eventually maybe it just takes hold. You have such a big job, really, that you're doing. What do you see as your biggest challenge?
Oh, boy. There's a lot of them. Obviously fundraising. I mean, one thing you and I haven't had a chance to talk about yet is that as we've expanded our services, we've also grown our budget. So back in 2007, we were about $1 million budget that was about 80% reliant on public funding. And today, we are a $5 million budget that's less than 20% reliant on public funding.
Wow.
And we've done that deliberately, and this kind of leads to my second challenge, but let me just close on that one. And that is that, it takes public dollars, tend to come in much larger chunks. And so fundraising is increasingly a challenge for us, not only because we have to raise more money, but when we're going to individuals and corporations and foundations, we raise it in much smaller increments. So there's a lot more work involved to get to the same number. The reason that we've moved away from public funding is because the federal government, HUD, which is the largest funder of homelessness, believes now that there is one-size-fits-all solution called Housing First for everyone who becomes homeless. To me is just so ridiculous.
Michele, we are just about out of time. Any last comments?
Yes, we have over 300 volunteers a month who come through our door. We need many more. Please visit www.stjohnsprogram.org, and Saint is spelled out. And you can access volunteer opportunities. And we need you to come to Plates and Plates Midtown and use our restaurant so women get more job training. And we could absolutely use donations, which, again, can be made through our website at www.stjohnsprogram.org.
Michele, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Well, we've been talking to Michele Steeb. She is the CEO of St. John's Program for Real Change in Sacramento. And this is Carol Winkler for Community Issues.
The opinions and views expressed on Community Issues are not necessarily those of this station or management. This program is presented as a public service.